You need real skill sets. And you need inner skill sets of confidence, self-esteem, self-worth, focus, concentration, all the wonderful attributes that are going to help you to up your game. Okay? Now, my skill sets that I want to go over with you today is through breaking through barriers, is the skills that come from within. I can't teach you what Martin does, that's why he's here, but I can help you to break through some internal barriers that might be preventing you from going out and doing things in the real world in relation to securing certain opportunities for yourself once you have the other skill sets. The only thing that might keep you back from doing it is, and it's a dirty 4-letter word.
Or?
Nope.
Fear.
Say?
Fear.
Fear. Fear. Fear. Okay? And a lot of people have fear and they've lived with it for most of their lives and they don't even recognize it as fear anymore. And now what I want to go through with you is the biology, the physiology, and the psychology of how that happens. Okay? So, we're going to talk about this little, actually it's pretty small, you might not be able to see it, but I'm going to pass this around and I want you to look at this red dot. Okay? Just pass it around that way. So I want to talk to you about this. I gave you a picture to look at and you looked at one thing. If you were using situational awareness, you would have looked at the picture and then scanned the whole page and saw that there's something called amygdala on top of it. Amygdala. Now you might not have been able to pronounce it. You might not even known it was a word. But that is what that red little dot there is. It's very small in our brain and it's actually called the amygdala. Okay? Why is the amygdala important? Because when I was a kid, my amygdala ran my life. It ran my life. And it made me do a lot of the things I did. Because this amygdala takes all the information that's coming in from what you see, from what you hear, from what you feel, and not so much what you taste or what you smell, to a degree, depending on if you smell smoke from a fire. But what it does is it takes all the sensory-based information and it processes it immediately. That's one of the first areas that information gets processed. Okay? Now, this is a very, very important part because without the amygdala, you would not be here today. That part in your brain has allowed your generations of your family for centuries and centuries and centuries, millennia, over millennia, okay, to survive. Whether it was running from forest fires, whether it was protecting themselves from wild animals, whether it was protecting themselves from, tribal invasions way back in the day when we weren't living in big cities or whatever, that amygdala takes information and it says, hey, this is a threat. Do something about it right now. Do something about it now. Okay? And then what it does is it activates this. You can pass it around. It activates this part. This little cone-shaped gland, or it's not really a gland, but it's a piece that sits on the brainstem, right at the base of your brainstem, and activates your nervous system, your autonomic nervous system. Okay.
I wrote the name down.
I bet you all were figuring that I was going to ask you whether you noticed the name or not, right? So what is the name? How do you say it?
Medulla Oblongata.
Yeah, very good. Excellent pronunciation.
Nice name.
Yeah. Okay. The medulla oblongata is a piece of your brain that sits right at the bottom of the brain and hooks up with your spine, basically. What it does is it takes information from the amygdala. And if the amygdala says, threat, 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 then this medulla oblongata becomes activated immediately. There is nothing else more important at that point in time. Nothing else more important happens. Because what happens is your nervous system kicks in, your autonomic nervous system kicks in, and you activate something that's called the sympathetic nervous system. Now you have two parts, okay, to your nervous system. You have the parasympathetic part and you have the sympathetic. Your light sympathetic nervous system is the part that relaxes you. So, let's say you're listening to a nice piece of music, you're out for a nice walk in nature, I don't know, you're doing some meditation, you're doing some yoga, you're doing some tai chi, you're, playing with your dog or your cat or, whatever, your hamster or, your kids, whatever. You're with a loved one, you feel nice and warm and cozy. It's beautiful. Everything is as it should be. You're relaxed, okay? But the sympathetic nervous system is that aspect that says, danger, 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 and automatically kicks in, and it automatically starts beating your heart faster. It automatically starts taking blood and pumping more of it into the larger muscles of your body. And it kicks in what's called adrenaline. Okay? And what does adrenaline have? What can adrenaline help you with in a dangerous situation?
Awareness. Because you're more alert, more aware when you're...
Yeah, it can also have you go a little tunnel vision at times too, so you have to be careful of that, because it will have you focus in on the immediate danger. So what else? It gives you more
energy.
More power?
Gives you more strength.
Strength.
Yes. All right. And the reason it does that is because there's something that's called fight or flight. Fight or flight. Now there's another aspect of that should be included, is a lot of people do it. Freeze. So those are the three main things that we tend to do when danger comes our way. Fight, run, which is flight, right? Run, or freeze.
Yeah.
Okay? That's what our nervous system has evolved to after millions and millions of years of evolution. That's what we have come to. Now here's the difference in the day and age when we used to run sheep farms, or have livestock, or have a crop of some sort. How often would we find danger in those particular times? Well, if you're sitting there chewing a blade of grass, watching your sheep out in the meadow, is that danger?
No.
Okay. If there was a fire nearby?
Yeah.
Okay, that would be dangerous, so you have to do something about it. So, your amygdala would instantly say to your medulla oblongata, hey, it's time. Everything else would be put out of your head and you would be ready to deal with that danger right there and then and there. There would be nothing else in your focus. That's how you evolved. That's how generations of your family have evolved throughout thousands and thousands. That's why you're sitting here today. Now the problem is that the amount of dangerous situations back then compared to today, I'm not saying real danger all the time, I'm saying perceived danger, because here's the kicker. What's this called again?
Amygdala or whatever.
Amygdala.
Amygdala.
Okay? Your amygdala doesn't necessarily require the situation to be real. It can be imaginary. And it will still activate your medulla oblongata. Right? Okay? So let's say one day you're walking through the forest and a snake went across your feet, right? And it was a really bad snake, right? Would you have a fearful reaction to that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Well, hey, you know what? Your amygdala remembers that. And anytime you'd be walking through a forest and maybe even see just a stick that kind of looks like a snake, guess what happens?
Like
whoa, hey, whoa, hey, snake, and your heart starts beating faster, and you go, okay, and then you go, oh, it's just a stick.
My friend
It's
did
just a
that.
stick. Okay. Wow, man. And then you go back into parasympathetic nervous system and relax, right? But you see, you remember. Well, a part of you remembers, right? And it doesn't matter, anything similar. It's going to kick in. It's going to create this reaction, and you're going to have that reaction all the time. But it wasn't real. It wasn't real. Your mind made it real. Your body responded if it was real, but it wasn't real. Now that just doesn't go for snakes. That goes for like when I was in school, and I had to do a word search, and the teacher says, Terry, stand up and do a word search, and I'm like, shit. and I could feel, my amygdala say, you're screwed. You're screwed. You better figure something out real quick, because, man, you don't know shit. Right? And my heart would start pumping. I'd have this sympathetic nervous system, I'd be up there, I'd be like, I don't know the word. Or I'd make up some stupid excuse, or I'd create some trouble, and the teacher would like, yeah, okay, you get a...
Go to the office?
Yeah, go to the office, or what do you call it when you have to come back after school and sit there?
Detention?
Detention, yeah, okay, detention for you, because you're being a clown. Well, I'd take the clown over having to look stupid, not knowing the word search. So it forced me, my reaction was, okay, what do you do when this happens? Okay, be a clown. And then you can either get sent into the classroom, or you can come back for detention, but you don't have to look like an idiot trying to figure out what word you're looking for. Now, even when I learned the alphabet and I was getting better at things and I had more confidence, this reaction still happened because my brain still remembered from way back when what it was like. And it says, it doesn't matter. Do you remember all those times you did this? And I could feel like a sympathetic nervous system, fight or flight reaction coming on and go like, hold on a second here. Are you kidding me? Really? Hello? You're a little outdated now. Hello? Like, calm down. So then, as I was a teenager, I started to get into meditation. And the reason I got into meditation was because I learned that I could take a big chunk of my conditioning from when I was younger, and I could recondition it in my brain. I could actually see it differently, so that I started programming my subconscious mind to react differently. So in situations, like I could never get up here and do what I'm doing with you when I was back in school, before I started to become an instructor. I could never do it. I never had the confidence to do it. I had to literally reprogram the way I thought about it so that I could have a different reaction. I did not want this to talk to this and say, hey, sympathetic, fight or flight, now. And I'm like, but why? There's nothing going on. There's no real danger. You can get to a point where you can recondition the relationship here, where this information here that's coming in, you can recondition that so fear does not trigger that sympathetic nervous system fight or flight freeze. Okay? So what I want to do with you today is help you to understand that you have a great opportunity being a part of what Martin is doing here, teaching you these skills. But the other aspect of it is you have to realize that your biology is set up in a way that when you go out to ask for that job, to apply for that job, when you go out to improve yourself in your workplace, go for that promotion, do these other things, create these other opportunities in your life, that has to come from you. That has to come from you. Okay? So you have to reach inside and say, what is it that I need and how can I develop those skills? First of all, it has to come from confidence. It has to come from that self-esteem, feeling of self-worth, that you are worthy to accomplish these things in your life. I never thought when I was a kid I was. I never had that feeling that I was worthy of anything. And my teachers always told me, you're never going to grow up to be anything successful. Because I was a class clown all the time. So that just reinforced my beliefs anyways. But when somebody finally said, you can do well at something if you really apply yourself, I started to reevaluate my association here and think, what am I being kept back? How am I keeping myself back to being successful in my life? Okay. So what I want to do with you